Today we're going to be prepping for the PowerPC challenge. If you haven't heard about it yet, it's where a bunch of us Mac YouTubers are challenging ourselves to use only PowerPC or 68K Macs for an entire week for as much of our daily computing as possible, running from January 7th after MacYac to January 14th, and the challenge has been going on for a few years now. I'll link to the MacYac page about it below, but this is the first year that I'm taking part. So to get ready, I've pulled out the PowerPC machines that I hope to use, and I've made a list of all the things that I'm going to need to be able to do. Let's see how many of these we can check off, so stay tuned. So I think there's really two ways that one can approach the challenge of living on old hardware for a week. The first is thinking about the computer in the context of its original capabilities. The fundamental ways in which we use computers hasn't really changed in 30 years, and the software just keeps becoming more demanding, and thus the hardware has to keep pace. I mean, today we're using JavaScript applications inside of a bloated web browser to write documents in the same exact way that we used to use Office 97. So this first way would be to use software of the period to comfortably accomplish all of the things that we're using modern software to do. The second way would be to try to drag a vintage computer kicking and screaming into the modern age with upgrades upon upgrades and try to get it to do all of the things we do with modern machines. Now, this is Action Retro, so which one do you think we're going to do? First, let's talk about the machines that I've picked. My main machine is going to be my massively upgraded G4 Cube, which is my all-time favorite machine at this point. This has a 1.2 GHz Sonnet processor upgrade, 1.5 gigs of RAM, an mSATA SSD, upgraded VRM, and crucially a PC graphics card hacked to work with Mac. And this thing absolutely flies, and I have tweaked Leopard to take advantage of it. I've disabled Spotlight indexing, and I've changed the dock from 3D to 2D, which honestly I think looks a lot cooler anyway. And I'll link the full playlist of mods here in case you want to get caught up. And, oh, this monitor? Yeah, that's not going to cut it. And since I can't always be at my desk, I want to use my favorite PowerBook, the G3 Wallstreet, which is the last and fastest PowerBook to still have the original rainbow Apple logo. This thing came up to 300 megahertz, but mine is the mid-range 266, and with some ex post facto hacking, I was able to get 10.4 Tiger on here and upgrade it to 10.4.11. So the latest possible operating system that this G3 machine could ever possibly run, which of course Tiger now lets us run 10.4 Fox. And I even found this Dell card bus Wi-Fi adapter, which works in here. And it even connects to my home network just fine, which means I can write all of my scripts on here and send them to my network printer. And even better, I have one working battery, which gives me, so far, at least 3 hours out of here. Now, sure, I have plenty of PowerBooks that are faster. For example, I have my 12-inch aluminum PowerBook and even my G4 Pismo, which I upgraded from a G3 to a G4 500. But there's just something very special about these Wallstreet PowerBooks. And if you'll remember, I actually have a 500 megahertz G4 upgrade for this, but I could never get it working in any kind of stable manner. So if you want to see those shenanigans, I'll link to those right here. But maybe I'll take another crack at that upgrade during this challenge. So in order to reasonably cover my weekly computing needs, these are the things we're going to have to take care of. So we've got web browsing, music, email, chat, games, and stupid work apps. And honestly, work apps is going to be the hardest one here because there's some very specific software that I need to use during the work week. But we'll save that for last. To start, let's talk about some of the software that can help us check some of these things off. Operating system wise, the Cube is running Leopard with those tweaks I mentioned, and the PowerBook is running Tiger, which I ex post factoed onto it because the Wallstreet G3 is only technically supposed to go up to 10.2 Puma. For web browser, I'm primarily going to use 10.4 Fox on both the PowerBook and the Cube, and on the Cube I'm also going to keep Leopard WebKit as a backup. Now, 10.4 Fox is modern Firefox compiled for PowerPC, and it runs on Tiger and Leopard. And Leopard WebKit is basically Safari from 2018 that only runs on Leopard. And they're the two most recent browsers available for PowerPC. And in my experience, 10.4 Fox can run pretty much any modern website, albeit sometimes excruciatingly slowly. And I've also optimized 10.4 Fox on both machines with 10.4 Fox PEP, which is a set of preferences that you can load that dramatically increase the rendering speed and feel of the browser. And on the cube here, I've also set the browser to use the superpowered graphics card to render web pages. Okay, so that is web browsing sorted. And 10.4 Fox also has a pretty neat companion called 10.4 Fox Box, which is basically a way to take demanding web applications and containerize them within a very minimal version of 10.4 Fox, and it will run alone in that container much faster than it would if you just had it open in a random tab in the browser. Now, 10.4 Fox Box should actually let me check off both music and email. And starting with music, unfortunately Spotify doesn't work on PowerPC, but surprisingly both Bandcamp and SoundCloud work right in the browser, and they work pretty well. So I think what we can do now is put both of these into a 10.4 Fox box, and then we'll be able to play those as if they were desktop streaming music players. So all we have to do is open 10.4 Fox box, and we'll choose a name for this, which will be SoundCloud. Just put in the URL, soundcloud.com. We'll check allow it to keep cookies and prevent the site from detecting it's not in a normal browser. And then we'll give it a title, SoundCloud, but I don't think that works right. I think it says Google no matter what you put in that box. And if we create that, created SoundCloud successfully, now we can go into applications. Oh, there it is, SoundCloud. Oh yeah, it actually worked. 10.4 Fox box SoundCloud, and it's going to load the site in this minimal version of 10.4 Fox. So there we go, a desktop SoundCloud player. Works pretty great. We can minimize that, go about our workday, and have music playing. So let's just make one of these for Bandcamp, and then we'll be good. All right, there we go. Desktop Bandcamp player, and it works just fine. And that is music sorted. Now for email, I use Gmail for work and Proton Mail for my YouTube stuff. And I'm not going to show you inside my work email on video, obviously, but Gmail is actually kind of cool in that they let you select the old version of Gmail, and they call it something like Gmail for slower computers or slow connections. And I'm going to put that inside of a 10.4 Fox box. And Proton Mail, surprisingly, the web interface works pretty well, even on this old machine. The only thing that takes a long time is, decrypting, because Proton Mail is encrypted and it decrypts your account client side in JavaScript. So let's set up that 10.4 Fox box right now. Right, we'll call this Proton Mail. Going to protonmail.com with a title of Proton Mail. Okay, so it took about a minute to get into Proton Mail because, again, it's very heavy on JavaScript to decrypt it. But now that I'm in, I can send an email to myself. Hello. And of course, it takes a second because it has to encrypt the email via client-side JavaScript. But yeah, that didn't take that long at all, and I received it right away. So yeah, I'm going to say that's modern email completely sorted. We don't have to rely on any old, potentially insecure versions of mail apps or anything. We can just use the actual web-based secure email. Definitely going to call that email very well sorted. Okay, now for chat, we're going to do basically the same thing. I want to try both Discord and Slack inside of 10.4 Fox boxes, though I don't have high hopes for Slack in particular. I've tried to run Slack in browsers on random operating systems like Haiku before, and Slack is very particular about what browser it's running on. Discord, I think, might work. It might just be very slow. Now, Steve from Mac84 is actually using IRC to talk to Discord on his Quadra 800, and that's a 68K machine. So if Discord is too heavy for this machine, maybe I'll go that route as well. But why don't we try to make a 10.4 Fox box for Discord first? Hey, check it out, it worked. Well, let's try to go into the MacYac Discord and send a message. Okay, so here's the PowerPC challenge room on the MacYac Discord. Let's see if I can send a message. Yeah, that is painfully slow, even in this 10.4 Fox box. Wow, that is... that's honestly unusably slow. All right, I think the 10.4 Fox box has frozen. So let's go ahead and just quit that. All right, well, I'm going to try Slack, even though Slack is probably way heavier. Okay, so unfortunately for Slack, no matter what URL I set it to, when I launch 10.4 Fox box, it just brings me to kind of the Slack homepage with no button to even launch Slack. So if you visit Slack in a regular browser, it'll give you a button to launch Slack in the browser, but it doesn't even give me that option. All right, well, unfortunately, it seems that chat so far is a no-go. So I'll have to look into what Mac84 Steve did with IRC to connect to Discord, but until then, let's move on and check out games. Now, for games, you all have seen me play Minecraft on this machine before, although I had the much smaller screen on it. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to set up a Minecraft server per all of your recommendations, because connecting to a server uses far less resources than playing Minecraft solo on your computer, because when you play Minecraft solo, technically you're running the client and the server at the same time on your computer. So I haven't set that up yet, but we're going to set that up soon. First though, I am curious how Minecraft will do full screen on this much larger monitor. All right, here we are, and we're in a much less demanding biome. Actually, it appears that we are on a tiny island with nothing around us. Perfect. So that's probably the best case scenario for frame rate, because there is absolutely nothing around me. And the view distance is so short that I have no idea where there might be land. But yeah, let's take a look at what the frame rate is. Hey, we're doing a solid 20, 23 FPS right now, with a couple dips into like the 10s and teens, but hey, let's see if we can find some other land. Okay, well, in that last map, I got stuck in the endless abyss of the ocean, so I generated a new world, which put me into quite a nice biome here, where I'm getting a pretty good frame rate. So yeah, I'm getting in the 20s most of the time. Dips down to 16, 15 when I'm running around. Ooh, little dip to 6 there, but yeah, pretty good, even on this larger screen resolution. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to give that an emphatic yes for games, and I think games are only going to get better when we put up our Minecraft server and you all start playing with me. So finally, that brings us to work apps. And at the beginning, I said this was probably going to be the most difficult thing to achieve because I have very specific software I need to run for my day job, but I have an idea. For a long time, Apple has had a handy feature built into OS X called Share Screen. And I can actually connect to my M1 MacBook Pro right here on my G4 Cube. And look at that, it actually looks pretty great. So I've got both machines up on my local network. And it's a bit choppy. But here's that software that I need to use for my day job called Screaming Frog, which lets me crawl and audit large websites. And this app is actually a Java app, but it's required 64-bit for a long time. So yeah, I think that's work apps sorted. And at the same time, I can use Discord and Slack from here, and it should work just fine. So technically I can do everything through my G4 Cube, even things that require macOS Big Sur, through the magic of screen sharing. Now, of course, it's a little bit choppy because it uses an ancient protocol called VNC, but the upside of that is that it works on this 20-year-old G4 Cube, and it works on the absolute latest Macintosh there is, this MacBook Pro M1 with Big Sur. So yeah, boring work apps, I'm going to call that set. And chat, well, technically we can do it through the Cube, so I'll award that half credit. So yeah, I'm really feeling good about the PowerPC challenge. I really feel like I can do about 100% of everything that I need to do, either on the Cube directly or through the Cube using screen sharing to my main machine. And sure, I'm still kind of using my modern computer, but you know, I'm not trying to get fired over the PowerPC challenge. And you know, I'm still basically using the Cube for 100% of my tasks. I'm using the Cube software that's built in. I'm using the screen, the keyboard, everything. I'm doing everything through the Cube, which, you know, shouldn't really be possible, but this screen sharing makes it possible. So stay tuned to the channel for more PowerPC challenge stuff, and it's going to be a ton of fun. I can't wait to get that Minecraft server up and running, and those of you with PowerPC machines can come hop on and play and see how much it can handle. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more Macintosh shenanigans like these, please subscribe down below. Thank you very much for watching. And a special thanks to Chris, Justin, Sorta Eclectic, and Spike, who are my highest tiered patrons, and all of my Patreon supporters for helping make these shenanigans possible.